Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. On Thursday evening, government officials raided a warehouse in the Liberty City section of Miami and arrested 7 men, charging them with conspiring to blow up the Sears Tower in Chicago and FBI buildings in 5 cities. The men are Narciso Batiste, Patrick Abraham, Stanley Fanur, Nadamar Herrera, Burson Augustin, Liglenson Lemorin, and Rothschild Augustine. They range in age from 22 to 32 and were indicted by a federal grand jury in Miami Friday. 5 of the men are U.S. citizens. One's a legal immigrant from Haiti. The last is an undocumented immigrant originally from Haiti. The men are charged with 2 counts of conspiring to support a foreign terrorist organization, 1 count of conspiring to destroy buildings by use of explosives, and 1 count of conspiring to wage war against the government. Each faces a maximum sentence of 70 years. This is Attorney General Alberto Gonzales announcing the details of the case at a news conference Friday.
These individuals wish to wage a quote, full ground war against the United States. That quote is from the investigation of these individuals, who also allegedly stated the desire to, quote, kill all the devils we can. They hoped for their attacks to be, quote, just as good or greater than 9/11.
Attorney General Alberto Gonzales. Family and community members have expressed shock at the charges and point out no weapons or explosives were found, nor did investigators document any links to al-Qaeda. It appears the entire case rests on conversations between Narciso Batiste, the supposed ringleader of the group, and the FBI informant, who is posing as a representative of al-Qaeda. John Pistole, the FBI's deputy director, described the plan on Friday as, quote, aspirational rather than operational. We're joined right now in Miami by David Marcus and Max Rameau. David Marcus is defense attorney and president of the Miami chapter of the Florida Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers. He's founder of the David Oscar Marcus law firm, which focuses on criminal trials and appeals. Max Rameau is with Miami Cop Watch, which is a project of the Center for Pan-African Development. We welcome you both to Democracy Now! David Marcus, let's begin with you. Can you explain exactly what went down on Thursday? What are the charges? What has been shown?
Well, they've alleged in a 13-page indictment that these 7 individuals have connections to terrorists and were funding terrorists and were going to be involved in blowing up different places. And as you mentioned, there are no weapons, no connection to al-Qaeda. You see a lot of scary words in the indictment, like jihad and loyalty oaths and Osama bin Laden. But what we have is the traditional informant going in and talking to a bunch of guys, and what's going to come out in the next couple weeks is actually what was said, and that's going to be the critical part to the case.
What is the narrative the government has laid out about exactly what happened? Who was the informant? How did they learn about this group of people?
We don't know who the informant is yet. We know from reading the indictment that there were a number of meetings in warehouses and so on in Liberty City, and that those meetings were recorded. We know from reading the indictment as well that there are allegations that there were talks about blowing up the Sears Tower, about the Miami FBI office, about the downtown Justice building. But again, there was nothing actually done. There was talk. And we've seen in a lot of these cases that talk can sometimes lead to acquittals. So we're going to have to see more than just talk for the government to be able to show their case.
Can you talk about the phrase the government is using, that the plans were aspirational, not operational?
Right. It's interesting because I think even the government is trying to lower expectations in their case because they know that nothing was actually done. I think the most that was done were these guys got some boots from the informant, some military boots. They have to be able to prove that they were able to carry this out, that they were going to do something. And based on the mere words, that's going to be difficult to do. We have to hear what was said on the tapes, how far these meetings got. But based on words and the government's talk as aspirational plans, they may have some tough hurdles to get over.
And can you talk about other cases? Have there been similar ones like this in Miami and Florida?
There have been. The most recent one, of course, was Professor Al-Arian, who in Tampa got an acquittal for what the defense was just talking. Now, that case is different in a lot of respects, but I think there are some similarities to be drawn in the way that The professor's defense was this was just talk, there was nothing more than talk, you're allowed to talk about this kind of stuff, and at the end of the day he was acquitted of most of the charges. I think that's going to be part of the defense here, in addition to the entrapment and that this was just fantasy on the part of the seven. There have been some other defenses floated around, like that these guys might have just been bad con men trying to get $50,000 and some guns from somebody who came around. Who knows whether the defense is going to be entrapment or that they were conned or that this was just talk, but there are potential defenses being talked about that have been successful in the past.
David Marcus is a defense attorney. Max Rameau is with Miami Cop Watch, which is a project of the Center for Pan-African Development. Max, you are from Liberty City, where the people who have been arrested are from. Can you talk about what you understand has happened, how this has affected the community that these men come from?
Well, Liberty City, I live at, it's about 20, my home is about 20 blocks from where the raid occurred. I have a lot of friends who are right in that area. The community obviously is very shocked because of the show of force which was there, and shocked because of the incredible and overwhelming news coverage of this. However, as things now are starting to calm down, as the dust is settling, we're taking a closer look at it, and I think a lot of concerns are being raised about the disparate treatment that these men are receiving as compared to what members of other communities receive who might be accused of doing the same thing, or who might have been planning the same thing, or even further along in the plan. So we have a long history of local law enforcement and the FBI as well attacking and targeting the black community and groups in that community, and we're concerned that this is another example of that.
You say disparate treatment. Can you give us examples of people you're talking about?
Obviously, in the war on drugs, there's a lot more attacks on the black community where less drugs are used than in the white community, in particular about the issue of terrorism. In addition to Luis Posada, who is a Cuban who is widely considered to be responsible for the 1976 bombing of an airplane with killing 73 people. He is in jail now, but was in Miami walking around freely for many months before he was in jail. And he's in jail on immigration charges, not on bombing charges. Orlando Bosch, who was also a Cuban who held a press conference in April of 2006, essentially confessed on television to his role in that same bombing, killing 73 people, blowing up an airplane. He said that he didn't want to get himself in trouble by saying that he did it, but he essentially confessed to doing it. He lives in Miami right now in a nice big house, and he's not being bothered by anyone. On the day of the raids, that same Thursday, the Miami Herald, which is a local paper, put out a front-page article with a former board member of the Cuban American National Foundation by the name of Jose Antonio Lama, came out on the front page and said that the Cuban American National Foundation, which is recognized by the government as a not-for-profit organization, had a subcommittee from their board who was responsible and did buy weapons, bought boats, bought helicopters for the purpose of attacking a sovereign country, for attacking Cuba. So these guys were actually terrorists, real live terrorists, and they all live right now free in Miami and not getting arrested. I'm trying to imagine what would happen if a group of black people got together and came out on TV and said we were responsible for blowing up an airplane. What would happen to them? So it looks like there's really a big difference in the treatment. There are some amateur wannabes, terrorists here, allegedly, who are now going to get ready to get run over by this train that is Homeland Security, and there's some real live terrorists who are sitting, living, and being unmolested by the police as we speak. This is really unfair treatment.
Max Rameau, can you talk about the Haitian community in Liberty City and the effect that this has had, Max?
Well, I was born in Haiti myself. The Haitian community has been very upset by this. We're really concerned that this is going to be used as a justification for the continued discriminatory practices against Haitians. Already Haitians have a difficult time, Haitian refugees have a difficult time getting to the United States. We're concerned that now the government is going to say, we told you all along that we shouldn't have Haitians in here, and this is